The security guard's voice sliced through the opulent lobby like a blade. "No personal photographs allowed in this area, ladies." Charlie's hand froze midair. Her phone inches from capturing the moment she and Natalie had risked everything for. Dressed in matching tailored ivory suits that whispered of the private vows they'd exchanged upstairs just an hour earlier, the two women exchanged a lightning-fast glance of pure panic. Before either could respond, the elevator chimed and 5 members of Apex Capital's board of directors stepped out, their polished shoes clicking against the marble floor with ominous purpose. The chairman's eyes locked onto them immediately, his expression shifting from surprise to something far more calculated. Charlie felt her stomach drop. At 32, she had clawed her way from a one-bedroom apartment in Queens to vice president of strategic acquisitions at Apex, one of Wall Street's most cutthroat investment firms. Every late night, every sacrifice weekend had been for this. The chance to become the next CEO when Richard Harlan retired in 6 months. Natalie, 34 and the firm's rising star in mergers, stood beside her now, her blonde hair catching the chandelier light, her soft features tight with the same fear that gripped Charlie. They had been together in secret for 3 years, stealing moments in hotel rooms and late-night offices, always careful because Apex's conservative client base and old money board would never tolerate a lesbian relationship between two top executives. Public exposure meant career suicide. "Ms. Thompson, Ms. Rivera," Chairman Harlan said smoothly, his voice carrying the weight of decades in boardrooms. He gestured to the security guard, who stepped back instantly. "I see you've been celebrating something private. Interesting choice of attire for our annual retreat." The other directors exchanged glances, but none looked shocked. Harlan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "No need for alarm. In fact, this little discovery changes nothing about our plans. Or does it?" He tilted his head, studying them like pieces on a chessboard. "Join us in the private lounge. We have much to discuss." Natalie's fingers brushed Charlie's discreetly as they followed, a silent reminder of the vows they just whispered to each other in their suite. For better or worse, through every promotion battle. But Charlie's mind raced ahead. This wasn't just embarrassment. It was leverage. Harlan had always played God with careers, pitting executives against each other to extract maximum performance. If he knew about their relationship, he could use it to control them both in the CEO race. The lobby's marble floors felt colder now, the chandeliers harsher. One wrong word here and everything they had built would crumble. In the lounge, leather chairs and a crackling fireplace created an illusion of warmth. Harlan poured scotch for everyone, his movements deliberate. "Relax, ladies. You're not fired. Far from it. Apex values results above all, and you two deliver them better than anyone. But let's be honest. We've suspected for months. The late meetings, the shared travel itineraries that didn't quite add up. And now this. Commitment ceremony at our own retreat? Bold." He sipped his drink. "The board has decided on a unique test for the CEO position. You'll both remain candidates, but you'll compete head-to-head on the upcoming Vanguard merger. One of you will lead it to success and claim the corner office. The other? Well, we'll see." Charlie's pulse thundered. The Vanguard deal was worth billions, the kind that made or broke legacies. She had already positioned herself with key clients, but Natalie had the inside track on regulatory angles. Harlan continued. "However, your personal situation adds a fascinating layer. Keep it hidden or the deal collapses under scandal. One leak and you're both out. Prove you can separate ambition from whatever this is. Or don't. The choice is yours." The other directors nodded, their faces masks of professional detachment. Natalie sat straighter, her voice steady despite the tremor Charlie alone could detect. "We understand, sir. Professionalism first." But inside, Charlie knew the real war had just begun. Love had always been their secret strength. Now it was their greatest liability. Back in their suite, the champagne from earlier sat untouched. Charlie paced while Natalie stared at the mountain view. "He wants us to destroy each other for that chair," Charlie said finally. "Classic Harlan. Divide and conquer." Natalie turned, her expression a mix of love and steel. "Then we don't play his game. We work together in secret like always." But Charlie heard the doubt. Their careers had always been parallel ladders. Now one had to fall for the other to rise. She pulled Natalie close, the fabric of their ivory suits brushing like a promise. Yet even in that embrace, ambition whispered louder than before. The night stretched long, filled with quiet plans and unspoken fears. By morning, the board's reversal had set everything in motion, and the first cracks were already forming. The next day at the retreat, the workshops felt like theater. Charlie sat across from Natalie in the conference room, both presenting data on potential Vanguard synergies as if nothing had changed. Colleagues clapped politely, unaware of the undercurrents. But every slide, every eye contact carried double meaning. Last night they had agreed to maintain the facade. Rivals in public, lovers in private. Yet Harlan's words lingered like smoke. Charlie had spent the early hours reviewing client files, mapping how she could edge ahead without Natalie noticing. Not betrayal, she told herself, just survival. Natalie, meanwhile, had quietly emailed her regulatory contacts, securing a lead that could tip the scales her way. Their history flashed through Charlie's mind as she listened to a panel discussion. 3 years earlier, Natalie had joined Apex fresh from Harvard Business School, all poise and precision. Charlie, already 2 years in and hungry, had been assigned to mentor her on a small acquisition. Late nights in the office turned into stolen coffees, then dinners that lingered too long. The first kiss happened in the back of a cab after closing a deal that saved the firm millions. "We can't," Natalie had whispered, but her hands said otherwise. They both knew the firm's unwritten rules. No relationships at the executive level, especially not between women in a world where clients still whispered about traditional values. So they hid it perfectly, building separate reputations while sharing everything else. Now, in Aspen, that secrecy was a weapon turned against them. During a coffee break, a junior analyst approached Natalie with questions about the merger timeline. Charlie watched from across the room, noting how Natalie's smile never wavered. But later, alone in the suite, the mask slipped. "Harlan pulled me aside after lunch," Natalie said, kicking off her heels. "He offered me exclusive data if I distance myself publicly from you. Said it would look better for the board vote." Charlie's jaw tightened. "And what did you tell him?" Natalie hesitated just a second too long. "That I'd think about it." The air thickened. Charlie crossed the room, cupping Natalie's face. "We're in this together. Remember the vows." Yet doubt flickered in her own chest. She had received a similar call from Harlan that morning, hinting at client introductions if she took the lead aggressively. The retreat continued with team-building exercises that felt absurd now. Hiking trails through snow-dusted pines, they walked side by side but spoke in code. "The Q3 projections favor aggressive positioning," Charlie said, meaning she planned to push harder on the deal. Natalie nodded, her breath visible in the cold. "But sustainable alliances yield better long-term returns." Translation: "Don't burn bridges, including ours." Back at the hotel that evening, they reviewed documents together on the king bed, laptops open, bodies close. Yet when Charlie's hand brushed Natalie's, the touch carried hesitation. Ambition was rewriting their language. By the final night, small choices accumulated. Charlie forwarded a client email to herself instead of sharing it immediately with Natalie, telling herself it was strategic. Natalie accepted a private dinner invitation from Harlan without telling Charlie the full agenda. They returned to the suite after midnight, undressing in silence. "We're still us," Charlie murmured, pulling Natalie into bed. The intimacy was tender, filled with the same passion that had sustained them for years, but now it felt edged with calculation. Sleep came late, dreams tangled with boardroom visions, and the weight of what they might have to sacrifice. The flight back to New York the next morning carried them home as colleagues, the secret heavier than ever. The board's reversal had planted seeds, and the soil of their love was already shifting. New York greeted them with its usual frenzy. Apex's glass tower loomed over Midtown, a monument to the power they both craved. Monday morning meetings resumed as if Aspen had been a dream. Charlie dove into client calls, securing verbal commitments that strengthened her position on Vanguard. Natalie buried herself in regulatory filings, her quiet competence shining in every email chain. But the board watched. Harlan's assistant scheduled separate check-ins, subtle reminders of the game. Rumors started small. A leaked memo about personal distractions at the retreat circulated in the executive wing. No names, but eyes lingered longer on Charlie and Natalie during the weekly strategy session. In the elevator after one such meeting, Natalie whispered, "We need to create distance publicly. Just for optics." Charlie agreed outwardly, but inside it stung. That evening, instead of sharing a cab home, they left the office 10 minutes apart. Charlie's apartment in Chelsea felt emptier without Natalie's overnight bag. She poured a glass of wine and stared at the city lights, replaying their private ceremony. The vows had been simple, heartfelt. Partnership beyond titles. Now titles threatened to erase the partnership. The first real fracture came midweek. A major client, nervous about the merger's optics, demanded a dedicated lead without complications. Harlan called Charlie directly. "Take this one solo. It positions you perfectly. Natalie will understand." Charlie accepted, then spent the night drafting a detailed proposal that omitted Natalie's contributions. Cause and effect were clear. Protect the deal, protect her shot at CEO. When Natalie discovered the omission in the shared drive the next day, her text was measured. "We said together." Charlie replied with a lie about timing. The response was silence. Family pressure compounded it for Natalie. Her conservative parents in Connecticut had always suspected something but never asked. Now, after a Sunday brunch, her mother cornered her. "That Charlie woman seems very close. Be careful, darling. Apex isn't forgiving." Natalie deflected, but the words echoed. Back in the city, she met Charlie at a neutral cafe near Bryant Park, their first casual encounter since the retreat. "I can't keep pretending this doesn't hurt," Natalie admitted, stirring her coffee. Charlie reached across the table then pulled back, aware of passers-by. "One of us has to win. Better it be us than some outsider." The logic was sound, the emotion fraying. Work intensified. The Vanguard team split into factions, some backing Charlie's aggressive timeline, others Natalie's measured approach. A rival colleague, Derek, began sniffing around, dropping hints about unprofessional conduct. Charlie countered by leaking a minor scheduling error on Natalie's side to shift blame. A small betrayal that bought her time. Natalie responded by securing a key regulatory waiver, without looping Charlie in. Each move was logical, born of survival, yet each chipped away at trust. Late one night in Charlie's apartment, they argued for the first time in years. "You're becoming exactly what Harlan wants," Natalie said, voice breaking. Charlie shot back, "And you're letting fear win." They didn't reconcile fully before dawn. The merger deadline loomed, and with it, the realization that distance wasn't just optics anymore. The merger negotiations moved to a high-stakes phase. Apex rented conference rooms at the Plaza Hotel for marathon sessions with Vanguard executives. Charlie arrived early each day, armed with data Natalie no longer fully shared. During one break, Harlan pulled her aside in the hallway. "Smart moves, Thompson. Keep it up, and the board sees a decisive leader." His praise tasted like ash. Natalie watched from across the room, her expression unreadable. Later that evening, in a quiet corner of the hotel bar, Natalie confronted her. "You withheld the client risk assessment. Why?" Charlie's answer was cold calculation. "It strengthened my presentation. You would have done the same." The words hung between them, cause leading to effect. Natalie's eyes hardened, the first real fracture visible. Family pressure escalated for Natalie. Her father called, mentioning a concerned friend on the Apex board who had hinted at instability in her personal life. "Focus on your career, not distractions," he warned. Natalie hung up shaking. That night she met Charlie in Central Park, away from prying eyes. "I need space to think," she said, the ring on her finger feeling heavier. Charlie nodded, ambition masking the pain. "Do what you have to." But alone later, she stared at her own ring and wondered when protection had become sabotage. The power plays deepened. Derek approached Natalie with an offer. Back his dark horse candidacy for CEO. And he'd ensure any rumors died. She refused, but the temptation lingered. Meanwhile, Charlie received insider documents from a board ally. Documents that could undermine Natalie's regulatory strategy. She used them, framing it as due diligence. The effect was immediate. Vanguard delayed a key approval, citing inconsistencies Natalie had missed. In the next team debrief, Natalie took the blame publicly while her eyes accused Charlie across the table. The betrayal seeded deeper resentment. Yet love refused to die quietly. One rainy evening, Natalie showed up at Charlie's door unannounced. They didn't speak at first, just held each other in the doorway. "I hate what this is doing to us," Natalie whispered. Charlie kissed her forehead. "Then let's stop the games." They tried, spending the night reviewing files side by side like old times. But by morning, Charlie had quietly forwarded one file to her personal drive. Small, deniable, but the pattern continued. Harlan watched from afar, his reversal complete. The two women who had arrived as partners at the retreat were now rivals in truth. Tensions peaked during the final merger presentations. Charlie stood before the combined teams, delivering a flawless pitch that highlighted her vision while subtly questioning Natalie's caution. The room applauded, but Natalie sat motionless. Later, in the ladies' room, Natalie cornered her. "That was a direct hit on my section. You knew it would weaken me." Charlie didn't deny it. "The board needs to see strength. I did what I had to." The cause was clear: survival in a zero-sum game. The effect was irreparable. Natalie walked out without another word. That weekend, Natalie made her own cold decision. She met privately with a Vanguard executive, sharing intelligence that positioned Charlie's timeline as overly aggressive. The executive nodded, and by Monday the deal terms shifted in Natalie's favor. Charlie discovered the change in the updated contract and confronted her in the empty boardroom after hours. "You went behind my back." Natalie's response was steady. "You started it. Every step you took pushed me here." Voices rose, accusations flying. The argument spilled into the hallway, nearly overheard by security. They stopped just in time, but the damage was done. Trust, once their foundation, lay in ruins. Harlan summoned them separately that week. To Charlie, "You're leading. One more push and it's yours." To Natalie, "Resilience under fire impresses us. Don't fade now." Each left the office believing the other was gaining ground. At home, their texts grew curt, meetings limited to work. Yet one night Natalie called. "I miss you," she admitted. Charlie wanted to say the same, but ambition answered instead. "Focus on the vote." The line went dead. The board scheduled the final decision for Friday. Rumors of a leaked relationship swirled, fueled by Derek. Charlie prepared her defense, ready to deny everything if needed. Natalie did the same. The night before, they met one last time at their favorite hidden diner. No rings visible, no touches. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Natalie said. "I loved you." Charlie nodded, throat tight. "Same." But both knew love had become secondary. The cold decisions had led here. Two women who once vowed forever now prepared to watch the other fall. Friday dawned gray over Manhattan. The boardroom on the 45th floor hummed with tension. Charlie and Natalie sat on opposite sides of the long table, dossiers open like shields. Harlan began without preamble. "The Vanguard merger is secured, thanks to your combined efforts. But only one can lead Apex forward." He outlined the vote. Charlie's aggressive growth model versus Natalie's sustainable approach. Presentations lasted an hour, each woman delivering with precision honed by years of rivalry. The board deliberated behind closed doors. When they returned, Harlan's face was unreadable. "We've decided. Natalie Rivera will assume the CEO role effective next month." Charlie's world tilted. All the calculated moves, the withheld files, the late nights, had not been enough. Natalie sat motionless, victory hollow. Harlan continued, "However recent, personal revelations require adjustments. To avoid any appearance of impropriety, Ms. Thompson will be reassigned to our London office. Effective immediately." The reversal was complete. The board had known all along, using their relationship as the ultimate test and discarding the loser. In the hallway afterward, Natalie approached, voice low. "I didn't ask for this." Charlie's smile was bitter. "Doesn't matter. You won." They didn't embrace. Security escorted Charlie to clear her desk. By evening, her apartment boxes were packed, the ring left on the counter with a note. "For the woman I loved." At the airport, Natalie watched the skyline from her new corner office, the promotion bittersweet. The firm thrived, but something irreplaceable was gone. Months later, reports showed Apex stronger than ever. Yet Charlie in London and Natalie in New York never spoke again. The power game had demanded its price. True or false? In the cutthroat world of corporate power, love must always be the first casualty?